Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Odin82 playing in the most toxic tank of all time. It is the Waffenträger Alf E100. Now this vehicle is back. You can play it inside the random queue over the next couple of weeks inside World of Tanks. You can either get the rentals by completing the Waffenträger game mode, which I featured on the YouTube channel yesterday, or alternatively, if you pony up some money to wargaming or get lucky with one of the keys that you can get free from playing the Waffenträger game mode. Now you can get 50 rentals from the boxes, 5 rentals, I believe, from completing the event, and I think there might be an opportunity to get 5 more, though I'm not 100% certain about that. So probably about 55 to 60 games in total you can play in this tank over a 2-week period. Now, interestingly enough, there will be a day where everybody starts to naturally complete the Waffenträger event, so there will be a day where the majority of the player base who don't get the vehicle through purchasing loot boxes will be taking them out onto the battlefield. I estimate that it's probably going to take at least about 7 days into the event, so probably around about next Monday to Wednesday before people start to naturally kind of complete the event. And that's when you're going to see a lot of these out on the battlefield. And what do? Why is it the most toxic tank? Because of this. Goodbye, Mr. Conqueror. That's the entirety of that tier 9 heavy tank just obliterated by Odin in arguably the most imbalanced tank of all time. Now, the weird thing about this is it's pretty much like a Jagdtiger that has 5 rounds with a 2-second intra-clip reload. But this tank was even more crazy back in the day. Back in the day, it actually had 6 rounds, and it would reload in the same time that it takes to reload 5. Now, it currently takes 58 seconds to be able to reload this tank. And also, back in the day, it had way better dispersion values than it does now as well. So this is a significantly nerfed version of the WT Alf E100 that you're playing, or that you're seeing, and that you have the opportunity to play over the next couple of weeks. It is just madness to be able to destroy the entirety of a tier 10 tank in a single mag. Interestingly, this year, Wargaming have made it so that the rentals that you get, you can't move your crew into the tank, you can't retrain a crew to it, and so you're actually stuck without good skills like you're stuck without good skills like recon and situational awareness, which means that unless your WTE 100 wants to take coated optics on this tank or binoculars, it's never really going to have enough view range to exist outside of a close quarters fight like we see Odin participating in. But who needs coated optics? Who needs long range combat when you do things like this to your opponents? Well, hopefully not just miss and hit the wall. There you go, 1 through the lower plate. Odin falls back to try not to get hit by the E3. 2 through the lower plate, 3 in through the side of the tank. Well, actually just managed to track, but the 5th or the 4th, whatever you want to say, that actually hit the target goes in. And that T123 was just absolutely crippled. They were full health at the beginning, they put 1 shot into the WT, and now they have no more health to play around with. This thing is horrible to play against because it's just so punishing. Now, if you see these things on the battlefield, load HE and shoot them in the turret, because they only have 20mm of turret armor at the front and 10mm of turret armor at the side. So you will overmatch all armor-piercing rounds, but why not just club up the damage and really go for it with the HE rounds against this tank, and you're going to be able to knock them down to size. And as I said, they're roughly about like next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when people start to complete their game modes from grinding, and they start to get the rentals for free, you're going to see a lot of these vehicles in the matchmaker. And so maybe if you're someone who wants to try and, for example, 3-mark your light tanks, or alternatively just take out some of your Cobra, could be really good. Any kind of auto-loading gun that has relatively good HE rounds, like on a Cobra, could be absolutely staggering against the WT Alf E100. Although, remember, while it is very easy to be able to penetrate this tank, it is also very easy to get penetrated and get destroyed by this vehicle, so don't expect it to be like a super easy ride against these vehicles. And that was what just was so toxic about them. They were a horrible vehicle to play against because they could manage to do what Odin is about to do to this child Fuchsia 4. They just go 1, they go 2, and then they go 3. Oh, I hit the tracks. Oh, lol. Anyway, just kidding. I've still got another 2 shots left in the vehicle and maybe 1 extra for the Skoda that Odin's going to fire out because it's their last gold round of the game. So it was incredibly toxic to play against, but also it was incredibly toxic to play with, because you come round the corner, you know, you do the dirty work, you tank that shot from the enemy, and then maybe you get to fire one shell at them. And then the WTRP-100 goes, oh, thanks, mate, pushes you out the way, and then just gobbles up the enemy tank like some greedy little pigeon. It was a disgusting vehicle to play with, a disgusting vehicle to play against. And thank goodness that we are seeing the nerfed version of this vehicle. Funnily enough, though, while I do think it's completely toxic, I don't think it's going to ruin the matchmaker over the next few weeks, even with having a few more of them inside it. I do think that if Wargaming were to bring it back for good, it would not make the game better. I think there's a reason why it disappeared, and I think it's kind of pretty cool that they do bring it back as like a 2-week kind of rental of the vehicle, so it's never truly in its outrageous form. The WT that we're seeing now is without having more than 4 crew skills, and I think that's going to be like repairs, concealment, firefighting, and brothers in arms. So it doesn't have, oh, nice blind fire there against the G-Saw. It doesn't have all of the really outrageous skills that can that propel the vehicle upwards and onwards. You know, like smooth ride, snapshot, situational awareness, recon, and you're actually not able to retrain the 4-skill crew that Wargaming give you. And annoyingly, it's going to disappear after the event. So all of that crew training that you've put into the WTRP-100 will be completely wasted. So it really does suck for players who are going to play 50 games in this tank. That's 50 games of crew training that they could have put into a German vehicle. And I honestly think for those players, they would have rather moved it for credits, paid the 120k to move their Guerrilla crew, for example, into the WTRP-100, done some crew training inside the vehicle, or just paid the gold to be able to have access to the tank, and then trained up 50 to 50 games worth, which has got to be at least 50,000, if not 100,000. If you're using boosters, like 200,000 crew training, and then move the crew back towards the end of the event. Wargaming still haven't clarified, at least to me, and if anyone from Wargaming's watching this, please do clarify to us what happens at the end of the event to all the equipment on this rental vehicle. Is it going to get demounted for free, or is it going to disappear from my garage? Quite interestingly, Odin hasn't even put a third piece of equipment on this tank. I guess he just didn't have enough spare. I've personally put bond equipment on my WTRP-100 because I'm still trying to go for the 3 mark on this tank. And I've only got like 54 games or 53 games left to do it. So I'm crossing my fingers, hoping I can manage to put some big games together over the next couple of weeks and try to progress and try hard in the WTRP-100. Now, interestingly, the WTRP-100 on the enemy team, who hasn't even been spotted yet, just picked up a kill on the Conqueror on Odin's team. So now it's like, where is the WTRP-100? And trust me, the last thing that you want in World of Tanks is to not know where a WTRP-100 is. Not only does the WTRP-100 on the enemy team pick up the Conqueror kill, they also now pick up the VK-4502B kill. So that might suggest that if the WT does get spotted, that they're probably likely going to be reloading for at least the next 30 seconds or so. So Odin now scouring, looking at the horizon, hoping for an opportunity to be able to dump one of the most ridiculous mags in World of Tanks history into. But Odin, you didn't even take coated optics on your vehicle, bruv, so it's very unlikely that you are going to be spotting anything from this position. They're looking across at the 263 thinking, shall I support them or shall I go back into the town? Unfortunately, even though Odin's done 6,700 damage, which is enough to be able to win the majority of your games of World of Tanks, they're still not quite in it. And oh, hello. And the fact that the WT is reversing, oh no, not like this. I bet they thought they were having a good game. Well, they're not having a good game any longer. And that is just dog-eat-dog gameplay there, boys and girls. What happens when the most toxic tank catches the most toxic tank reloading? Well, toxicity squared, I guess, in this case, with one very much alive and one back into the garage. Maybe now that Odin has the same number of frags as the WT on the enemy team had. But still, with 4 vehicles left on the enemy team that they have to deal with and 8,700 damage to their name, maybe that'll be the opportunity for Odin to be able to get back into this one. So for all of you out there who are thinking, like, how would I equip the WTRP-100? I would probably go for a rotation device, turbo, and coated optics on this tank. And unfortunately, because you can't gain access to the field mods on this vehicle, you can't have a second set of equipment. If I had a second set of equipment, I would probably drop the coated optics for a durability device on some maps. Some people might want to drop the coated optics altogether and just go for like close quarters combat, but I do think that if you don't have view range in this vehicle, you don't really have much outside of those frenetic close quarters combat situations. Okay, so now it's Odin, and is that Lemonidas, like a lemon, against 4 enemy vehicles. And unfortunately, Lemonidas does prove to be a bit of a lemon, leaving now Odin in a 1 versus 4 scenario with not too many healthy tanks on the enemy team. So there's 1 into the Leopard prototype, 2 into the Leopard prototype, 3 shot the medium tank within 4 seconds, receives 1 shot in return. Where's the Skoda? Where's the 704? Where is the G-Saw? And just look at that. That is the equivalent of driving out in front of a Jagdtiger with a 2-second reload time. That is some scary stuff. Or the equivalent of like 3 Jagdtigers that have mediocre reactions. However, Odin doesn't as he shuts down the Skoda. And another vehicle comes around the corner. And in a single mag, just devoured an entire Leopard prototype, the Skoda and the 704. And you see Frankie the cousin in the chat in the Object 140 say, LOL. And I agree, lol. Odin says 10,700 damage. That you've seen Odin, but oh gosh. 30 seconds left on the reload. Here's the G-Saw. Okay, it's a game of chicken. Odin has to pretend that he's reloaded right now by shoving his front round the corner. Maybe he can bait the G-Saw into thinking... Yes, you're right. We will be back, she says. Don't despair, she says. Odin, my heart goes out to you. Odin puts GG in the chat, and you know what? Fair play to you, Odin. You were a beacon of gamer spirit in this battle to not be salty about the scenario. You know you did everything you did. You went above and beyond the Call of Duty with 10,800 damage that we saw, and you managed to vanquish half of the enemy team yourself, showing you all once again why the Waffenträger Alfie 100 was, and arguably still is, the most toxic tank in World of Tanks. So unsurprisingly, a high caliber here for 10,884 damage that was dealt, a top gun for those 7 kills, and Odin actually managed to make a slight amount of credits even though they dumped 2 mags of gold at the beginning of the game. But when you are doing 10,000 damage, of which most of that was dealt with regular rounds, it's not really too surprising. And it's terrifying looking down the list here that how many of these vehicles were just completely clipped out. That was all of the G-Saw, it was all of the Char, it was all of the Leopard, it was all of the Conqueror, it was all of the Waffenträger. This vehicle truly was a force to be reckoned with back in the day in its unnerfed form, and even to this day in kind of like this shell of its former self without all of the bells and whistles. It's still possibly the last tank in World of Tanks that you want to sit out in front of. So Odin 82, my condolences for not taking this game down. You were the hero of this battle, and I really felt like you deserved to. And thank you so much for uploading your awesome WT E100 gameplay onto the What Replays website for the community to enjoy. I know I thoroughly did, and I hope all of you out there enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Friday, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby to deliver you new drops. So come along, check out some epic games, and hopefully get some fantastic loot as well, so you can pick up a variety of things in the Twitch drop store. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.